All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sanjay Dalal, the founder and CEO of Outgoing. Happy 2023 to all of you. Welcome to our first business roundtable of 2023. uh, Thank you all for joining. Our goal is to again restart our roundtables online initially, and then we're going to also find a very good time to do a little early in the evenings with a lot of feedback given, hopefully face to face soon as well. But I thank you all for joining. Let's go around the table quickly and get some intros going. Let's go with my favorite here. No, just kidding. Eileen, you can start and introduce yourself, please.
Sure. My name is Eileen Dewar, and I'm with Engage PEO. So what we do is the full outsourced HR for small and mid-sized companies. So basically, we start with companies as small as 5 employees, but typically they can go up into the 100-employee range. And so we do everything from the basics of payroll, HR, building the employee handbook and all the HR infrastructure. One of our biggest points of difference compared to any other HR PEO in the market is that our HR consultants are licensed employment attorneys. So that's who directly the client works with. They're not working with an HR specialist, they're working with an attorney. And then we're able to do things like, of course, that we do the workers' comp insurance. We're able to take small groups, companies that have under 100 employees, out of small group ACA community rated plans. And if they qualify through underwriting into our large group master plan, so they get richer benefits at lower prices. And then we also offer a 401k that is a multiple employer plan where Engage is the fiduciary on that. And we charge nothing, no fees for the business owner to go into our 401k. So that's kind of like what we do in a nutshell.
Quite a few things. And I have a quick poll coming up on how was 2022, but let's just ask you, how was your last year, Eileen? Maybe share some quick highlights. How did it go?
It went really well, especially in the last 2 months of the year. So, but yes, this is a growing industry. More and more small businesses are aware of PEO and have more interest of just consolidating, so that therefore they can focus on the business instead of all the administrative tasks, and they don't have to worry as much about the risks of having people.
And how big is this company, the one you're with?
Engage, we have right now about 250 corporate employees, and then work sites in our pool. So all of our clients' employees are about 95,000. Oh,
wow. Very good. Very good. Thank you for joining us today. Sure. Let's go with Nilesh Mehta. How are you, sir?
Doing good.
Introduce yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I'm the deputy treasurer here in LA. So just looking forward to hear about leadership. I thought it's a very interesting conversation to have, and getting involved in the community related to business and career paths and how to transition from corporate America to entrepreneurship possibly. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Nilesh, for coming to our roundtable. And how was your 2022? What were some highlights, if you can share?
Sure. It's been a great transition. Obviously, getting out of a very fearful, uncertain time to a more consistent. People are getting used to sort of work from home or either having to go back into the office. I think that is getting worked out very quickly here in 2023. So I think 2022 was a time to figure out where the comfort is in people. So the ones who preferred the work from home were continuing that, and whether the employer liked it or not.
It's a great way of putting it. Absolutely. I think you're right. Now hybrid work is here to stay. I think it's fair to say that too, Ron. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's a great insight, Nilesh. Thank you. Yes, thank you for joining as well. Saroj, go ahead. Saroj, how are you?
Hi, my name is Saroj Basak, and I'm doing good. And I'm based in Los Angeles. We are a CRO company, contract research organization in the medical science field.
Yep.
And we work in developing products for different companies, bioscience companies or clinical trials. We have an office in Los Angeles as well as one in India. India in the city Hyderabad. Los Angeles, we have an office in Pasadena. So we have developed different products for other companies when they need their products to be developed or tested by us.
And what specific area, Saroj? Sorry, you mentioned biotech or
Biomedical.
biomedical.
Yeah. So it involves like from therapeutic products like some antigen for vaccines and for different other things like cosmetic industry is one where we are big, where we develop stem cell based technology based products which other company gets from us. Or recently another company has come to us to develop their specific stem cell based product which we are helping them to develop.
Excellent, excellent. And you mentioned you have an office in India. You were just there in India. Maybe give us a quick 30-second view of what's happening in India, if you may. A lot of business is happening between US
Yes.
and India as we speak,
Yeah.
and I would love to hear your views on that. Yeah.
Yes. So as you know, Hyderabad is the city where most of the tech as well as the biotech industry is based. We are partnering with one of the premier institute in India and CCMB, which is Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, and Hyderabad. And our office and the workplace is based in there. And in there we are getting clients from US who are trying to develop any like most of them are herbal medicines where they don't have any clinical data or preclinical data. So they come to us and inquire us that if we can generate for them any preclinical data and clinical data. So we are working with those guys, and recently we have developed one contract, and last year we had one contract from a vaccine manufacturer company from here. So for their purification and product development.
Fantastic. Thanks, Saroj, for the background, and great to reconnect again. And thank you for joining today's roundtable as well. Let's talk to Bruce. Bruce, how are you, sir?
I'm just fine and dandy in this brand new year. Basically, I've been retired, but now I connect people who need things, and I've got a couple of products that are just unbelievable, but they're quite true and they're quite real. One of them is a 10-to-1 loan that starts at a minimum of $10,000. So that goes up, that's $100,000 loan or more. It costs 2.5% for this 10-year line of credit, and all you pay is interest until the end of the term.
Sure.
And I have another one that's a $30 million or more loan that's 3-to-1 loan. And it averages about 5% when all is said and done in terms of the kind of deposit. But in that particular one, the deposit's never at risk, it's fully insured, and you wind up using other people's money for the entire project. And finally, I've got a regulated bond for those people who have some idle cash they want to make some money on. And anybody that has 500,000 or more, it pays 3.5% a month. That would be, if you do the math, 42% a year.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And if you actually use let's say an instrument, a treasury instrument, which you get about 4.5% on, you add that onto the 42%, you wind up with 46.5% a month a year.
True. Thank you, Bruce, for joining and being one of our regular roundtable attendees. Really appreciate it. How was your last year, Bruce? You had a good 2022?
It was a good year, and this is going to be even better, I can tell, because everything's getting tighter.
I think you're right. I mean, the banks are going to be very tight because I'm hearing that they're already allocating billions, for potential, let's see what happens. I don't want to be the forecaster for bad things here, but we're hearing that it's going to be interesting for the next couple of quarters at least. Yeah. So let's do a quick poll. I mean, already most of you have answered the question, but let's just do a house business poll. 2022 mainly. I mean, you all did answer it, so maybe you got a little finger going there, and tap on the iPads or your desktops, computers. Yeah. There you go. Thank you all for. Very good. That's the title of a really good book. Good to Great. I hope everybody has read that. One of the Bibles of business, if you may. So 3 goods and 1 great. Absolutely. Thank you all for participating in this quick poll. How's business? Good to great. There you go. And I think one thing, today's roundtable is on thought leadership. So what I want to do is ask that question. And I think this is actually a good question. So don't take it like, why am I asking you directly this question? But I think we should have an answer to this. All of us should. Are you a thought leader? And there you go. So one person did humbly say maybe, which is fine. Like the humility here. But I think the reality is we all are thought leaders in our areas, and we'll talk more about that in this roundtable. And we got all responses here, yes and maybe, and let me share the results. So what is thought leadership? And I think that's the discussion here is an open discussion. Have you all tried out the new Chat GPT? You can just say it out loud here. Have you tried the new product, the AI product, which is causing raves everywhere, waves and raves, I guess, and everybody is so excited as well as scared at the same time. I think the folks at Google are thinking it's a red herring moment for them, where it could upheaval. Chat GPT. So CHAT, and then the word GPT. You got to check it out, and I'll tell you why. I was trying it out the other days, and I said, over the weekend, I had it on my, reminders. I asked Siri to remind me of a bunch of things, and that was one of my reminders over the weekend. I said, I want to go and explore this and see what it's really all about. And I asked ChatGPT some really vague questions, okay? And every question I asked, it gave me a very interesting answer. So it's kind of like the language. It has taken the text and content of everything I feel the world has ever written, all the way through 2021. And now when you ask questions, it intelligently goes in there and uses machine learning as well as deep AI stuff and gives you respectable answers. So for instance, one of my questions I asked, I'm a huge fan of Steve Jobs. If most of you don't know that, you should know that by now, and Apple, so I asked, what would Steve Jobs have done differently if he were alive today? And, I thought that's a very tough question to just ask. I mean, it's hard to even ask a person, but I'm like, how is this going to work for a Chat GPT? And it gave me the most interesting answer, including giving me 3 points of what he would be doing today. And also in a very humble way, the way the answer was given. And then I went to ask about questions about leadership style of different leaders like Tim Cook or Satya Nadella, and how are these companies doing? And then I got into philosophical questions, and I said, how do we do this or that? And what's the meaning of this? I mean, I was like, I spent like an hour, Eileen and Bruce and Nilesh and Saroj here, I'm like, and my wife is like, what are you doing on a night? And she's like, and then she asked me the question, how does it really help you? I said, well, that's a good question. How does this really help us? And I think that's what we need to now say, okay, how does this help create thought leadership? And then I said, oh, thought leadership, that's what our event is about. Why don't I ask ChatGPT, what is thought leadership and how does one become a thought leader? And here it gave me 8 points on how does one become a thought leader. Now, I wasn't convinced, like, how does this give me all these answers? So I even asked the question, what is the rationale for the answer you just gave? And it actually gives me a whole reasoning about how it found this answer for me and why this tool believes that it's a good answer. Of course, it says you can argue with me that it's not good, but it gives me. So then, I love business networking, and we all do a lot of networking here on Going on these round tables, face to face. You all know I'm a fan of networking, So I said, because some people have told me it's also great for writing articles. I read about that. So I asked ChatGPT, can you write me 1,000-word article on business networking and how it's useful for local business owners? It took 5 seconds for ChatGPT to write the article and show me the article. Can you believe this? 1,000-word article. I swear with you, I will send you all this article after today's event. And why am I bringing it up today? Because I said, look, this is how the AI, it's based on artificial intelligence. If this is how it's going to change the world and now allow us or provide us all these tools to be even more intelligent, like use them to be even more intelligent, because now you have all this data of the whole world available to you. It does say through 2021, so it doesn't have the latest. Also, it doesn't project the future. I did ask some future questions, like what will happen to this and this stock price, and like, no, I'm not giving you any stock price. I thought let's figure it out, see if it will. But thought leadership is something big. But while I'm talking about ChatGPT, have anybody else tried it out here? And maybe you can share a couple of views on that, please. It's an open forum.
I have tried it out. It's amazing, but as quickly as it's growing, there's a lot of AI detection software that is going to eliminate this. So this is a very short-term benefit. So for people who are looking to copy paste, it's not going to be very functional, because everyone is starting to realize that this is not our own thoughts. So I think the Microsoft investment is going to be beneficial. They want basically 50% of the company. So yeah, so that's going to be beneficial.
How much did Microsoft invest in it? Sorry,
10 billion.
$10 billion. Oh,
yeah, it's worth 30. They're saying it's evaluated at 30 billion, but they're I think they're at a $1 billion loss going on right now. So
wow.
Yeah, it's a big challenge, but obviously Bing is not at the forefront of everyone's thought when they're searching for something. So they had to do something. And the only way to overcome Google is just take advantage of this technology.
I think it's a great point, Nilesh, because when I asked ChatGPT about your source or show me the rationale, and see, that's where Google differs. It actually takes you to the source of what the information it provides you. With ChatGPT, it always gave me like, we have figured this out from all these different resources, and it almost sounds like our Star Trek, the data, right? There is an answer given, but we can't challenge the answer, at least not yet.
Yeah, and the other thing is, since it's not verifiable, they're readily admitting that it's a work in progress. So can't really spend 100% on it. So you still have to do more research. But in terms of professors' jobs, attorneys' jobs, teachers' jobs, it's going to be very difficult, because now you cannot give any assignments, cannot give any projects. Yeah. So it's
it'll do the assignment for you. It even took the SAT, by the way, and it scored really well on the SAT.
Yeah.
So it's that good. So, so what does it have to do with thought leadership? Let's take a little step back. And I think where it helps is content, right? So thought leadership, we all know what it is. How do you become a recognized expert in your domain, in your field of expertise, where folks look at Bruce as saying, if you need alternative financing, which is pretty amazing, 10 to 1, 3 to 1, I mean, unheard of, too good to be true. Let's talk to Bruce, because you know what, it's actually available, if you're looking for that kind of financing. And now suddenly Bruce has become a thought leader in this field of alternative financing, just because he is sharing about it, he's talking about it, he has put content out there, he has made connections, and so on and so forth. There are 8 things you can do to become a thought leader, according to ChatGPT, but we can all dissect it, in the next poll. But that's kind of what it means. And I would like your thoughts on this, everybody. It's an open forum as to what makes you a thought leader. A lot of us said we are a thought leader. Eileen, you said, I think you are a thought leader. So what makes us a thought leader? Please, it's an open forum. Go ahead and share.
Well, if you're asking me personally,
Sure.
well, I think that what makes me a thought leader, I mean, I'm a thought leader in the HR area, right, of business,
Yep.
is, I mean, one is that I'm always on the pulse of what's happening, in my industry and with businesses related to their people. And
Yep.
then, I serve on the board of the executive board of PIRA Professionals and Human Resources Association, which is a mega chapter of SHRM, the Society of Human Resources Managers. And we have about, 4,300 members, so HR people.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
I oversee the North Orange County, South Orange County, and San Diego chapters, which is about 1,000 members. And so those chapter boards report to me. So, my involvement in PIRA alone keeps me on top of what's happening, in HR. And then, I directly work with small business owners, related to their HR. So I then also, I do regular SCORE webinars on different HR topics. I'm a certified speaker through them. And I have an HR credential, by the way, too. But so, all of my involvement between the clients that I'm working with, the firm that I work for, the associations. I'm also the treasurer of NAVA OC, which is the National Association of Women Business Owners, and I'm the chair of the ambassadors at the Irvine Chamber. That all of this combined, really puts me in a position that I see trends a lot of times well before other people do, and that's what I share through, my webinars, and I also do in-person workshops, with people as well. So yeah, so I'm just ahead of the curve from most people in that area.
That's so absolutely on the money. I think you are definitely a thought leader in what you're doing. And I think that's exactly the key. I think you established yourself in the industry. You've been doing it for many years. You are, board member of probably the highest association in the industry. And ultimately you're mentoring and giving back to the community through your work, which is one of the other ways of becoming a thought leader as well. I mean, people seek you out. You are speaking on topics relevant to that. I'm sure you're creating a lot of great content and sharing, as you say, the latest and the most helpful things, that matter. Saroj, I know you are a thought leader in your world, and maybe share a couple of points if you would like to add, Saroj.
Yeah, so I have been involved with the business community for some time, but my basic background is in academia. So I still maintain that relationship. And the one thing I do is work with different institutions, government or private institutions, where
Yep.
they need any expert input. And I work with them, and we publish new findings, new data related to any biomedical need. And then I try to convert those findings to commercial purpose, where we find clients and we generate leads where other business communities are interested in funding those new findings for further development into commercial products. So that's the way I think at least the biomedical science is moving forward in the business community. So that's my input, and just not maintaining a relationship with the people, but to work in the trenches to get the data and develop new products. That's what my focus is. So I think that may.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, and that's one of the key points you mentioned in there, Saroj, is use data and research to back up your claims, to increase your credibility. I think that's very important. And what you're doing is that beyond all the other things you do, because that's what establishes trust, and makes you a leader, right? Because when you share real world data, and data, is black and white, right? So you are sharing that, and based on that, you are creating your hypothesis or sharing, knowledge on top of that. I think that to me is one of the key ways, leaders become thought leaders. Absolutely. Yeah. Nilesh, would you like to add to that? Go ahead, please.
Absolutely. I think one of the challenges that many people face is they get so accustomed to their day-to-day operations that they lose that big picture focus. So
yeah.
I think these kind of networking sessions or leadership sessions in general provide that perspective because, just as Bruce mentioned, these kind of opportunities are sometimes hard to find, rare. And if we're looking for these opportunities, having this kind of a network creates that, providing perspective of our own individual expertise and, getting involved in debate, whether it makes sense for someone or it doesn't make sense for someone. I think it's, just that back and forth informational session. And it provides a lot of insight into, the day-to-day operations of individuals across, different platforms. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Bruce, I think you had a point to add there. Sorry, Bruce, go ahead.
Well, when it comes to funding, there's more to life than banks and factoring and private equity and VCs. There are independent, high net worth people who like to lend money, and they use it as leverage. It's all about leverage. You give them the leverage, they can, just like a bank can lend 10, 12 times every dollar in deposits, they can do the same thing, but they can get huge returns, even well better than the banks can do. And so everybody benefits by a mitigated risk kind of product that has low interest rates or high interest if you have want a bond return. And there's no personal guarantees, and you use other people's money. And the biggest thing is you're using debt, not equity. So you're not giving up chunks of your business to get it done. So, and these people want to say yes. In fact, I think they've said no once in the last 5 years. Wow. That's how aggressive they are.
That is impressive, Bruce. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, go ahead. Finish up. Yeah.
No, that's it. So I think people need to look at things a little differently. And if they do, they will reap the reward greatly. And that's true with whatever we offer. If they can look at their HR business differently, or their treasury function differently, or whatever it might be, there are things out there that can just turn your life around and your businesses around.
So let me ask a open question. Of course, we're talking about what makes us a thought leader in our fields, domain of expertise. I've tried hard at Going to be a thought leader in the business of small business, creating a community, networking community for business owners everywhere. By the way, last year, we grew to about 130,000 member businesses on Going now. All bootstrapping all the way, no external funding, Bruce. So you should be happy with that. But haven't given out equity yet, at least for Going. but I'm looking for some loans this year, so I'll come and talk to you for sure. I'll seek you out. But I guess, and we have many small businesses on Going now growing. I think the question I think about is consistency important, right? To be a thought leader. So do you have to be consistent in your approach? It's not a get rich quick overnight thing. I think thought leadership, I feel like it's a marathon. It's not something you can just sprint your way to being there. And then second, tied to that is, I see a lot of businesses claiming we are number one in this, number one in that. And when I see everybody saying they're number one, I'm like, who is number one now? So I guess that's more of a counter question. Like, is it good to claim your leadership as your number one? I mean, does it actually, creates the wrong impression, if you may, in the eyes of folks who are reading about you or your company? So two questions: consistency and claiming too much, I guess. Open question. Go ahead, please. Anyone wants to?
Well, and I would say that in terms of the consistency statement, I think that you're correct in that. I mean, not all of us can be Elon Musk that just kind of like throws our weight, into this and that, we just kind of go with the flow and we still think he's awesome, right? Is that, for me, my advice, to the market and whatever that might be, what I'm communicating needs to be, it's well thought out, right? And, it's incrementally building on what's happening in society and the economy and, with employers, and also looking back at the past at ways that employers have responded to similar type of situations. So that's that consistency part, right? Is benchmarking compared to the past of similar circumstances. So yeah, that whole well-reasoned thought as opposed to, oh, wow, it just looks like this. But the second question about being number one, I personally, my experience, with companies that are number one is that, you can look at it in the rental car market, you can look at it in the payroll market, which I'm intimately involved with payroll and whatever, is that the number one is usually the worst provider of service. Seriously, they're the cookie cutter, right? Seriously, they're the cookie cutter, that it's the mass numbers, and yes, they have a replicable process, of like their technology or something, and they've spent a ton of money on branding and or acquisition, to get to be number one. But again, they usually have the worst service. Is that it's usually people that are lower down in the rank of, like, when we say number one, like the biggest household name, right? If that's how you define number one, right? That biggest household name is usually the worst service. It's when you get down into the 6 to 10, say, in the market, right? Is that these companies have differentiated themselves in different ways, right? That, and in the case of Engage, like we're like the highest echelon of service, right? In terms of it being a very white glove, high touch service, and that again, the HR consultants are attorneys, which is radically different. But no, we're not providing to the masses. We have more of a select clientele that opts into our model, and well, of course we want to grow. Like, what company doesn't want to grow, right? But we're not going to take on just any business per se, and we're also going to grow in a way that we can keep our promise to the market, basically, providing that great service, So yeah, I don't think that saying that you're number one, actually does you any favors, at least in what I've seen in, the market in general.
Great points. Anybody else would like to add to that? So let's do a quick poll on this. I think we all know the answer to this poll, but I thought might as well let's just do what you all think. How to become a thought leader. I'm going to launch it. Again, it's just to keep those thoughts moving. Okay. What are ways in which you can become a thought leader? And here are different questions. Focus on niche area of expertise, share your knowledge and insights, speak, as some of us say, we speak at conferences and events, build a strong online presence, create valuable content. I think content is a great way for marketeers to establish their thought leadership. And networking, as it helps with thought leadership. I think if you do network with other thought leaders and experts in the industry, maybe it rubs off on you. It's a great way to establish your credibility, gain exposure, be consistent. We talked about that. Give back to the community. I think a lot of leaders, they love doing that. They love mentoring. They love training, coaching. Once they achieve a certain experience and expertise in their areas. I think Saroj did talk about data and research. I think that's important as well, how you leverage that. So again, a lot of things here, open question. Let's go and end the poll, share the results. I think we kind of know the answers to all of this, but it begs the question that it's not one thing, and it's many things to be a thought leader. I think what it also means is the road ahead. If you really want to be that thought leader of your industry, it's not an easy road. I think you got to do many things right, you as an individual or you as a business, to establish that brand, right? If you're a business, you have to establish that brand, and it takes a lot of effort where folks think of you as a trusted brand. There's a reason why we naturally incline ourselves to go to the local coffee shop, which I hope a lot more folks do that, versus always going to a Starbucks or Peet's Coffee. And there is something to be said about that, right? As to what is it that makes the local coffee shop, let's say, a brand leader in their category. When my daughter was visiting us, she's now in the Bay Area, over the holidays, she dragged me to the Lost Bean. It's a local coffee shop here in Irvine, in the Woodbridge area. And I was pretty amazed as to how well, it's a small shop. It's called Lost Bean. I was like, Lost Bean, what is it? And it's actually called the Lost Bean. And they have their own unique story as to how they came about with that name and their mission and what they mean to not just local coffee goers who love the place. It was always packed. It didn't matter what time you go there. And great place to go and do some work and enjoy a nice cup of organic coffee. I think most of the products are organic there as well. And I would say, here's a potential thought leader here who is making, difference in the community here, creating a nice place, inviting place for their customers to go and enjoy some coffee, and it's tough, right? To be that Lost Bean in the middle of all the well-known brands out there, right? We all are used to going to the big coffee shops because we know them. We go there and say, let's just go and get our lattes out there. So let's talk quickly about what does it take for a small business then to become a thought leader in their market. I think that's a tough road. Maybe somebody can share some thoughts on that. Bruce, maybe you can share.
Well, that's a real tough road, but I think you can start with your website. Now, these are confession up front. I don't do any of these.
Sure. But you worked with so many.
But I should. If you really sit down and say, what are the 2 or 3 things? And I'm not sure, when you look at the whole list, it gets kind of daunting. But if you say, gee, there's just 2 or 3 things I can focus on. I know one, I always refer people to a guy who out of Cleveland who does a great job with SEO, and he does a lot, and he encourages people to do a lot of videos, short videos. And those can be very powerful on your website, just to get the word out about some specific aspect. Very short, a minute long maybe, and that way you keep in front of people with fresh ideas, and that's another way to get them. And of course, with networking, it's the same kind of thing, where you're you're representing a brand every time you show up there, and you want to try to make something, say something useful and different each time. So it's that consistent presence that you
Consistent.
can do.
I think the video is it. I think nowadays, if you don't have such short form videos where you are quickly sharing some tips or some insights, something even funny, I think people want to see that. They want to see the human side behind you, the business owner, and you, the business. I think they want to see who you're all about. And I think, but does it matter, Bruce, if you're not great at sharing such videos? I mean,
see, that's the key is, yes, it does matter. You can come across as a total dweeb if you do it wrong, if you're boring, if you're just sitting. The people need to understand you have to be sort of motivated and a bit, not so much as I do, but a bit animated in what you're doing to keep their process. Otherwise, you come across as just some dry person who care less about it. So yeah, that does matter. But if you can maintain it for a good minute, it's well worth it. And the other problem is nobody wants to write it either, because writing for a minute, I remember somebody used to tell me, I wrote you a long letter because I didn't have enough time to write a shorter one.
Interesting. That's a good one.
There's a lot of truth to that. People just put stuff down and they don't really try to condense it into something concise, complete, and interesting that people can listen to. So that takes some outside help in sometimes, and that's where this service I was mentioning they can help with. So people can help you with that, and so you get a nice tight script, and then you practice it and just get it down and move on to another one. So it can really work.
It's a great point. So I know it's 11:47. We wanted to wrap it up in 45 minutes. So I'm going to go around the board and take your last comments on this, on thought leadership. Start with you, Eileen. Let's go with you and maybe chime in. Yeah.
Sorry. I just think that one of the best ways that I've seen, at least in Orange County, for business owners to become a thought leader is to get involved, especially with the Irvine Chamber, that they're able to really start to position their company and communicate who they are and what they do. And yes, then dovetail into having events, whether they be webinars or events at their own business, that they start teaching us about their area of expertise. And that's, I think, a really great way to start is by getting involved with the community.
Absolutely. And I think the chamber does a very good job of the outreach to the community as well as connecting businesses together. And I know I see so many events, and with the lead generation as well, they do like the lead meetings. So a lot of good work being happening for sure. Nilesh, would you like to add a couple of thoughts at the end here?
No, I think this is a wonderful opportunity to get perspective on leadership and how we can get involved. Transitioning from whatever our current roles are to, getting our eyes open into other industries, other opportunities. So I really appreciate this, session because, if we have more of these, we can get more people involved and try to understand exactly their perspective on whatever it is that they're doing.
Thank you, Nilesh, for attending. And I'm going to ask around, maybe you can quickly chat with me, and share, does this time work? Are there a couple of other alternative times? Because we want to host a business roundtable once a month on Zoom. And I'm trying to figure out, there's not going to be one right time, but maybe if you can chime in and chat and maybe give me some alternatives. I want to try a couple of other slots as well, Nilesh, to see if we can. Ideally, I don't want 30, 40 people because we want to keep everybody engaged.
Yeah.
But if we have a roundtable with a good 10, 20 folks, I think that's a good way to get everybody to express and share their ideas. Yeah.
I found success in early afternoon, evening time, like 5, 6. So as people are ending their day, I think there's an opportunity there.
I would say like 4 o'clock, honestly, is that
4 o'clock.
5 or 6 means that people might be 5 o'clock is like it might be commuting home, right? So that makes it really, but also, you know, you're moving into family time, but 4 o'clock at the very end of the day, people can give up that last hour pretty easily. And that's, I think, true, even if you want to do networking in person, is that most of the events that I'm doing now, if they're like an evening thing, they're from like 4 to 5:30 or 6. So they start a little earlier and they end so that people can still get home to their families in the evening.
Absolutely. So that's great suggestions. I think we'll take both into consideration for sure. Saroj, would you like to add any last points to the thought leadership?
Yeah, one thing I would like to see is that if the sessions or the meetings are divided into different business activities, it should be open to anybody can join, but like focused on HR or focused on investment, those kind of, or the biotech, so that people can be more focused and know what they are looking for or which people they are engaging, but it can be open to anyone. Yeah,
it's a good point. That's exactly what we're going to do for this year, is have different topics relevant to the small business owners. So definitely HR is one. I know who is going to be our speaker for that, no doubt in my mind, or thought leader. I should use our thought leader going forward. And of course, funding, definitely I want Bruce to come and talk about different types. He's a encyclopedia now for sure. So would love that. And I think Nilesh brings a different perspective to the table. So, but this is what it is, right? I mean, we are here meeting, talking, sharing our views, and that's how I want it to be. I want us to have this kind of open forum where we talk, and we don't want to make it too boring, but also want to take at least 1 or 2 or 3 points that we can take back, and hopefully use that in our workplace, so it's meaningful for everybody who attends. So again, we are positioning this as third Wednesdays of the month for the business roundtable. So look for the next one. I'm going to talk to a few more folks about the time before I announce it. I'm not decided that it's always going to be 11 a.m., which is what I said earlier, but I'm definitely looking to see if we can try some different time slots as well. And again, thank you all for attending. Really appreciate your support of Outgoing and sharing your views today on thought leadership. And have a great day, and look forward to having you again for our next roundtable. Thank you all.
Thank you. Nice meeting everyone.
Thank you.
nice meeting. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.